Okay, we're up to the fifth reading of chukat, Numbers chapter 20. They traveled from Kadesh, and the entire congregation of the children of Israel arrived at Mount Hor. Now, Kadesh, by the way, is also could be like Kadosh. And Kadesh is the first thing we say on Pesach. We go Kadesh or Chatz. So it's interesting, right? So it says Mekadesh. And the entire congregation of Israel arrived at the Mount Hor. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron at Mount Hor on the border of the land of Egypt, saying, Aaron shall be gathered to his people, for he shall not come to the land for which I have given to the children of Israel, because you defied my word at the waters of the dispute. Remember that? So Aaron, even though Moses really was the one who hit the rock, Aaron also was going to pay the consequence with his life. But so he must be towards the end because he dies in the 38th year. He dies a few years before we get there to Israel. So this story where it says this is happening in the first month, this is in the 38th year. Even though it didn't say what year it is, it must be. Okay, so what's going to happen? Take Aaron and Eleazar, his son, and ascend Mount Hor. I believe this is probably in Jordan somewhere, right? Where's this mountain? This mountain can't be in Eretz Israel. Strip Aaron of his garments and dress Eleazar his son with him, and Aaron shall be gathered to his people and die there. Moses did as the Lord commanded him. They assembled Mount Hor in the presence of the entire congregation. So the entire congregation is always going on. Moses says, stripped Aaron of his garments and dressed Eleazar his son in them. And Aaron died there on top of the mountain. Then Moses and Aaron descended from the mountain. Wow. So Aaron's like up there like naked, or I mean like in like some sort of like very, he's not wearing any of his clothes. The whole congregation saw that Aaron had expired, and the entire house of Israel wept for Aaron for 30 days. This is super important. Super important that the entire congregation saw that Aaron died. That way we don't venerate him. We don't turn them into a saint. We don't worship him. We saw that he died. He was a regular person. Even though he had prophecy, and even though he was Moses' older brother, even though he'd been with him the whole time, and even though he had the staff that was able to, put off a plague, he died a death of all humans. Super important in Jewish theology and just in general. Numbers chapter 21, verse 1. The Canaanite king of Arad, I once lived in Arad, who lived in the south of where? South of the mountain of Mount Hor? Like where? So like Arad is in the south of Beersheba. So they can't be that. But Arad's not in Israel. Arad's definitely in Israel. So what is this? He heard that Israel had come by the route of the spies, and he waged war against Israel and took them a captive. How many did he take captive? Israel made a vow to the Lord and said, if you deliver this people into my hand, I shall consecrate their cities. The Lord heard Israel's voice and delivered the Canaanite. He destroyed them and consecrated their cities, and he called the place Hormah. Well, wait a minute, what's going on? So the Canaanite king of Arad heard that Israel came by the route of the spy, so he knew about the whole spy situation, which I think that happened in the second year. So when does this war happen? Well, this war happened right after Aaron died. So this is the 38th year, I'm pretty sure. They journeyed from Mount Hor by the way of the Sea of Reeds, we know that one, to circle the land of Edom, and the people became disheartened because of the way, right? So they're going to the Sivuv. The Lord spoke against the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in this desert? For there is no bread and no water, and we have disgusted with this rotten bread. Well, wait a minute, they just got water. They had water, and they had bread. They had the manna. So what do they mean they're disgusted by it? So first they said there's no bread, and then they're disgusted by the bread. You can't have both ways. These complaints aren't realistic. They're realistic, but they're exaggerated. The Lord sent against the people the venomous snakes, and they bit the people. And many people of Israel died. The people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against the Lord and against you. Pray to the Lord for remove the snakes from us. So Moses prayed on behalf of his people. The Lord said to Moses, make yourself a serpent and put it on a pole, and let whoever is bitten look at it and live. Moses made a copper snake and put it on a pole, and whenever a snake bit a man, he would gaze upon the copper snake and live. This becomes the staff of the medical community. This is from this parsha. It's here. It's mentioned here, not the one with the almonds. This is the one. Now, eventually, the staff was with us up until I believe King Hezekiah, and eventually he had to break it because people were worshiping it. And actually, the Mishnah, I believe, says that was one of the things that one of the things that he did that they agreed that the rabbis agreed that he did. Okay, so that is in the fifth reading.